I've been in the game industry for 28 years. So I was one of the original. I started doing art for Game Boy, the original 4-color Game Boy.
Oh, damn.
I did like Prince of Persia. I did some other stuff, like a casino game and some other things. I worked at Virgin Games. I actually got fired from Virgin Games because I had a girlfriend that kept me up all night all the time, and it was so sad because I was making like $18,000 a year, and it was like, as an 18-year-old, that was like a lot of money. And it was sad. I was home like, and a programmer friend of mine, this guy, unfortunately, he passed away last year. A really nice guy named Steph. He applied at this little company called Silicon Synapse to be a programmer, but apparently he didn't work out there. But he said they needed artists, so I went down there with my Atari ST, Amiga, PC discs, and I met Alan Adham, who was a bushy-haired guy with ripped jeans. I actually thought he was another artist. I didn't realize he was the owner of the company, and that started my career. And they'd only been open for about a month, and so Mike Morheim and Alan Adham, who I just talked to last night, actually. They founded Blizzard with Frank Pierce and Pat Wyatt. So I was like employee number 4 or 5.
Oh, wow.
In like 1990, yeah. So we did a lot of work for Interplay. We did a lot of it was kind of, at the time, that shop wasn't really set up to be a Blizzard. It was set up to do ports. So we did ports for Interplay. Brian Fargo had a 10% stake in the company. So my first thing I worked on was Battle Chess. I did cleanup work on a lot of the animations for CD-ROM games.
Man.
That's cool.
And I worked on
awesome.
Breach, a Sega game called Breach. You can Google that, old game. And then I did Rock and Roll Racing. Then I pitched a game. We were all playing Lemmings, and I'm a long-haired heavy metal nerd, and so I was trying to emulate Lemmings, but ended up turning into these little Viking dudes with swords and running, and like they were like 16 by 16 pixel little dudes. Anyway, long story short, that ended up turning into Lost Vikings, which
Nice.
I designed. So that was my first game that I ever did the art for and did the actual design for. I pitched. We actually had it was cool. We had at that time we had about 10 people in the company. Everyone pitched their ideas. Everyone liked my Lost Vikings idea, so we went forward with that. It was Sega SNES idea, concept. Did that. We did Rock and Roll Racing next. We did Blackthorn. So we're about 22 people, and we did a lot of games. We did a lot of Death and Return of Superman, Justice League Task Force. That's where we met Condor. They were doing the Sega version. We were doing the SNES version. That's when they pitched us Diablo. Did Warcraft 1. I did a lot of the voices. I'm the one that did Jobs Done, by the way.
Yeah, so you're all up there with Chris Metzen and all those guys.
Metzen, my sister and her friend went out to all these colleges in Fullerton, Yorba Linda, in the Orange County area in Southern California. And Metzen and Roman Kenny and Nick Carpenter, they all found those posters that my sister and her friend put up and showed up at Blizzard, like literally showed up at the door with like portfolios of paperwork, and a bunch of people did that.
That's crazy.
So Metzen, and so my mom used to feed us all, like Alan, and we were all poor, we were all like had no money. We were all a bunch of people did that, like partiers and stuff. So so it was a cool like Bad News Bears kind of boys club, and we played like Warhammer 40K, we played Warhammer, played Magic, played D&D, worked on games, didn't
And you made
sleep.
all the things we now love.
Which is crazy because when we made this VR chat to me, I've told people. Sorry, if my mic's probably really hot. I've been having this bug lately. Let me fix it real quick. Hang on one second, guys. Anyway, I'll give you the whole history here. But my main point is I've done a lot of things. I did Blizzard. Silicon Synapse turned into Blizzard. I did my own stuff for years after Blizzard. I worked at Lionhead with Peter Molyneux. I worked on Fable. I worked on Black and White.
Wow, Black and White's awesome.
England.
I want Black and White in VR.
Stuff. I worked on Star Wars. I met John Zeta, who did the visual effects of the Matrix movies. We became friends. We formed a company. Company called Float. We did like amazing. I can show you on some videos at some point in one of these rooms. I can just bring them up. All these crazy experiments. Hackspanner, a guy that works for us, Dave and I. His real name is Dave. He and I worked with John Gaeta and Peter Oberdorfer. And we did all these crazy experiments with Fortaleza, Connect, all these all these VR things that before the DK1 came out, we actually built our own DK1. So you'll see me using like our own VR gear. A lot of R&D, a lot of crazy stuff with lots of people, and then I did my own stuff. So there's another guy in here named Jason N. We did a lot of stuff with Oculus. So before I was one of the first people to actually get the touches. But I'm also a music and sound guy, so I did all the music and sound for Lost, Oculus Story Studios Lost, Penrose Alamet. I did all the voices and a lot of the sound effects on that.
Wow.
So I do a lot of different things, and so I just was kind of exposed early to, and I had all the gear here that nobody knew about. So early on, in Converge and in some other things, people were like this with their hands. They didn't have any hands, and I was like, "Hey, how's it going?" And they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I have the touches." And they're like, "What? How do you have the touches?" And so, so that's how I ended up meeting VRChat guys, and I was kind of a fan of just a user, you know, more than a like looking for work basically. And then Hayden of Converge, who then went to Big Screen, who's now in Australia somewhere, he's like, "Dude, you gotta Graham and Jesse are looking for a guy like you." I'm like, "Really? Oh, cool." So then I actually interviewed in VR. So I interviewed with Graham and Jesse.
That's awesome.
Crazy, right?
I'd love to take a job interview
Right,
with that. That's
so they're like,
insanity.
"Hey," they're like, "Hey, do you want to?" So, you know, met in VR chat, which is in the Vive test weapons room or whatever.
Yeah, I
And
remember that.
Jesse was Jesse. He was scanned as himself, which was like crazy. And he's creepy. It's pretty creepy looking at Jesse.
Yeah, it's pretty creepy. It's intimidating, yeah. More than a real
and then
person.
what else happened? So yeah, we had a little back and forth, and it was like, cool. Okay, so now I'm the chief creative officer for VRChat. That started last March, and my sort of personal mandate was, you know, to make this place a lot more interactive, to make the avatars a lot more, make the technology a lot more interesting, but also to empower the users more, and just to bring all my experience that I have in sound, design, art, sensibilities, and also business marketing and all these other things. But I've come to this team and actually taught, as much as experience as I've had, I've actually learned a ton from all our guys, like MacLeod right there, because a lot of the people here are from the community. So almost everybody that works at VRChat, even including myself, at Lordstown I met almost a year and a half ago on Converge, right?
Well,
You remember
about
me
2
before I
years
was at
ago.
VRChat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
been a while.
So, super awesome to be passionate. And this reminds me, I'm old enough to be back a BBS guy, so I actually used to run a BBS, a 24-line BBS in the late 80s. That's how I ended up in the video game industry, because a lot of early adopters of modems and technology, and before the internet, were kind of like, those were the nerds that you hung out with, and they were the ones working in, you know, games and tech. And it feels like the same thing happened here. Like, a lot of early adopters that bought the early tech were really excited about the new frontiers of technology, and so I feel like I met a lot of like-minded folks. And our team is full of ninjas. I mean, they're really good people. A lot of them are passionate about VR. I just can't say enough about the magic at VRChat. Like, we're kind of a small team, but it's a really dedicated and awesome team. I just want to give some big ups to Bill. This guy works like nonstop.
Yeah.
Like, he's super awesome.
It's like, yeah, whatever.
So I just give him a little props. So Judgy Alien is actually giving a little love right now. A little love.
There you go. Yeah.
Wow.
This guy doesn't look like a judge. Doesn't he look like he just would? He would just judge you.
He does. He does.
He was just like, I want a UF. So when I first came to VRChat, we kind of had to take some of the scripts out, but we had these amazing things. Like, Mr. Q would bring a bus around, and you'd all climb on this bus, and the bus would like fly you around the city and stuff. That was amazing. I have video of
That
it.
sounds sick.
Yeah. How he summoned it was the best. So he'd come and he'd summon the bus. He would snap his fingers, right? And then you'd see in the sky like a star appear, like go like, and then out of it would come this freaking bus that was small and
Yeah,
then
and
it got
it
bigger
would,
and bigger.
it would fly around you a couple of times before it comes
Fly
to the
around a couple
ground.
times, yeah. And
So these guys
with
were
the Dragon Sword?
right.
With
So
a
these guys were
flute?
wizards, right?
Yeah.
They were like, when I first got here, I really felt like let me change over to regular life. You're already that one. Hang on, I'll be somebody else. I'll be the Warcraft kind of worky guy. So, you know, these guys to me were like wizards. Like, when I saw that, I was just like, holy, I went to this talk show and Gunter's there, and there's a cat sitting on the table, and the cat would like judge people, and it would like send, if people were being assholes, it would like bazooka them, and, like it would poop on you, and the poops would get bigger and bigger. It was
Oh, yeah, the
super
people
funny.
grow, and
It
it
was
would put
so
off
funny.
these fumes as it's growing.
Or like some guy would look up at the sky and be like, "Ooh, the moon," and then you'd look at it, and then he would pull the freaking moon down to like the sun, like all the way down to the earth. It was just like that kind of stuff. Really inspired me and made me want to make this. So now I saw an experimental platform, and what I saw was, okay, this is experimental, it's cool, but we have to get this into the public. We have to make it a little bit less so it can't be broken quite so much, but it can be, you know, so I've tried to help shape it to be more interactive, more games. As you can see, Hackspanner, if you ever, I don't know if Hackspanner's on right now, we should invite him here if he's not here. He is an amazing dude, and he and I have worked together for a long time.
I think he was on when we
also
popped on Monday.
Dude, Hackspanner.
Adam J's over to Pug.
He's not on right now. So if you guys get on here and talk to Hackspanner, he and I did loads of, and Cube and other people on the team, but we did a lot of months and months of work on this so that you can, you know, so you can do all these kind of things, and so that your eyes actually, I look at you, so that the lips and stuff are like work, and that's a lot of his work, and a lot of our early work with John Gata on Avatar. We actually did a lot of work on avatars before we just sort of came. It felt like my entire life has led to this. It perfectly led to VRChat, which is kind of crazy. So we're really excited about
magic moment.
Right. But yeah, it's frustrating in a way because I wish I could just wave a magic wand and just sort of do the brain download and just like make it happen, and unfortunately that's not how it works, right? So it's very hard to do. How do you make a Vive controller allow you to do gesture? It seems obvious now, right? But even that's maybe not perfect. It's a complex. How do you resolve that with motion controls and locomotion controls and and interface and all these other kind of things? And so it's I think my dream is to have everything VR creation, VR in-game creation, VR menus where it's like soundstage where you can kind of reach out, stuff on my avatar where I can look on my arm and see, avatar toys. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen this yet or not, but here's like...
Yeah, they showed us the camera, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so these are like simple avatar toys that we, I think that for me, like right now, that Mr. Cruiser, you can do disco ball, right? Like, I want the hosts and I want the people that put the work in to feel like wizards, right? And that's what when I came to VRChat, the people that had the skills, like they felt like, oh wow, man, like how do you do that? And that's to me what the metaverse and the Matrix sort of is supposed to feel like. The people with the skills are like the 36 level wizard kind of guys, right? And then like you see, we're all standing here, and all of a sudden some dude flies by, in some kind of crazy UFO, right? And you're like, whoa, how do you do that? So. Yeah, so it's exciting. I'm a little brain fried and a little delirious from a year. The last couple of weeks I've been like insane, and the last few days, the last couple of days have been awesome for us. We've had amazing response. Our Steam reviews are like, there's only one guy that left a negative review because we banned him, some sort of Russian troll that came in here. Like, I'm shocked that it's been like 34 positive. Like everybody comes in here and they're just like, "This is cool." Right? Yeah, it was silly. It was silly. I
think the ecosystems really need something like this where it puts a lot of power into the user's hands.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, you guys are inviting them to come in and make their own worlds and avatars, and like, that's huge. Like, that's big time.
So what have you guys? So anyway, that's my story. Sort of my mission is to take VRChat and to just make it the most fun. I want to be the cool kids on the block. I don't want to be Second Life.
I don't want to be the nerds.
I don't know about that, but I feel like I am kind of a little bit of a nerd, but I feel like I'm also a long-haired heavy metal kid that was growing up in the '80s, so I have all these '80s influences. Commodore 64s, and I read Ready Player One was going on, and I'm like, man, I'm an anorak. So anyway, guys, that's my intro. I talked a lot. I'm gonna have a sip of beer here while you guys talk.